All right, what's up, everybody? This is RealGM Radio, recording this a few hours after the 3 p.m. Eastern deadline ended. I'm going to get to my breakdown of a bunch of trades, but let's start with the trade that didn't happen. Giannis staying in Milwaukee, at least for now. There's a lot to get to here, but I did find it kind of annoying. The Bucks social media account trying to dunk on Shams and his reporting after a trade didn't happen, and then Giannis posting that meme from Wolf of Wall Street saying, "I'm not fucking leaving. Legends don't chase, they attract," as the caption. It's like, look, I understand the fan service part of this. I'm sure Bucks fans thought that was hilarious. Bucks fan Shams is. I don't know that he can ever step foot in Milwaukee at this point. And for a guy that I think he grew up in like the Chicago area, that's pretty close by, so that's not great for him. But yeah, Bucks fans, not Shams's biggest fans right now. And then Giannis coming out with that tweet and the video from Wolf of Wall Street after the deadline. Like, look, I get the fan service part. I'm sure Bucks fans loved it. I'm sure there's NBA fans around the league that thought that it was pretty funny. I found it annoying. I really did. That really rubbed me the wrong way. But both from the Milwaukee Bucks and from Giannis, frankly. It's annoying because don't pretend that this never happened. Right? Like, for the Bucks social media account to come out and act like Shams was just making all of this up. And by the way, I don't know, like, it's not just every NBA insider was reporting on the Giannis situation. All of them. So if you think Shams was making it up, then I guess everybody was making it up this entire time, to the point where even some of the teams are the teams making it up? Are the agents making? Is everybody really? Everybody's in cahoots to get Giannis to leave Milwaukee. I know that that's what some Bucks fans believe. It's not true. Whatever. I don't know. I find it fascinating, but the Giannis thing is what really bugged me, because this is a guy who has openly, on the record, many times gone back and forth and left the door open to potentially leaving. How many times has this guy said, if I can't win here, I'll look to win elsewhere? In so many words, right? Yes, he has also said, I'll never demand a trade and I would love to be in Milwaukee forever. But like 2 days before the deadline, he was saying, I would love to be in Milwaukee forever, but this team isn't good enough. And so for him, a couple minutes after the deadline passes and he's not traded, to come and do the "I'm not fucking leaving" video, and to say legends don't chase, they attract? What? What are we doing here? Don't do the whole fake news thing, man. Don't pretend like this never happened. So I found it annoying. And I find this entire situation annoying. Now, look, do I blame the Bucks for not trading Giannis? Do I blame Giannis for not demanding a trade? No, I don't blame anybody for that part specifically, okay? So I do want to bring some nuance to this, and I want to separate those two things. I don't blame the Bucks for leading people on. You already heard the reports and the complaining around the league. Oh, the Bucks were never really serious about trading Giannis. They were leading us on all along. Okay, fine. They don't owe you anything. John Horst and Bucks ownership don't owe it to any other team to be like to not lead you on, right? If they really did believe that Giannis could get traded, and if they do believe that they could still trade Giannis at the end of this coming summer, it behooves them to look at the market and control the market. Giannis is the first or second greatest player in Milwaukee Bucks history. I would personally put him first. You need to maximize the return on this. You get one shot at this, man. You get one shot at trading Giannis. And when you trade a superstar, the thing you need to get back is a lottery ticket to your next superstar. Whatever that is, a top draft pick, a blue chip young player. If you can get multiple lottery tickets, even better. And clearly, the Bucks did not feel like they were getting that lottery ticket back with the offers that they were getting up until 3 p.m. on Thursday. Now, what kind of offers were they getting, right? Golden State, the Golden State poo-poo platter of just random stuff never made sense to me, right? The Jimmy Butler, I've talked about this already, but first, the Jimmy Butler contract going over never made sense. You know, there were national people trying to position that as, oh, that's a tradable contract. No, it's not. $56 million next year? Yeah, sure, it's expiring. It's $56 million. That's a lot of money to move at the deadline. That's not easy. That's not a movable contract. especially when that contract is attached to Jimmy Butler and that entire, situation. And so then they pivot. Oh, we actually don't want to trade Jimmy Butler. Okay. Well, now we're open to trading Draymond and Jonathan Kuminga. Bucks say we don't want any of that stuff. We don't want Draymond. We don't want Kuminga. No thanks. Well, we got 4 first-round picks. Okay, cool. What else? Not good enough. You have 4 first-round picks. You're gonna have Steph and Giannis for those first 2 picks, and then you're gonna have Giannis after that. And those picks are so far out. We frankly don't care, and we're getting nothing back in the near term. That helps us in the near term. So yeah, I didn't blame them for moving on from the Golden State offer. I'll talk about what the Warriors did at the deadline here a little bit later. Then you get the Minnesota offer. I don't know what they ultimately ended up trying to propose to the Bucks. The thing I could never get past with the Timberwolves pulling something off before the trade deadline was, yes, you can move Julius Randle or Jaden McDaniels or Rudy Gobert or whatever it is that you need to move to go get the draft picks that you need to then send to Milwaukee. And maybe it's Jaden McDaniels and those picks, but you are gutting your roster. A roster that has been in the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. You're really going to do that? I do like what the Timberwolves ended up doing. I'll talk about them here in a second. You have the New York Knicks, who basically just said, nah, we're not interested. For what? Okay, that's a whole other thing. And then you have the Miami Heat, right? And this is obviously the team that I'm close to. They were offering Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, Terry Rozier's expiring. They had 2 first-round picks that they could put in the deal. And then, maybe there was going to be a negotiation about what other young players, Jaime Jaquez, Kasparis Akachonis, whatever else, right? Obviously, the Bucks didn't look at that and say, yep, that's what we're looking for. Now, the reporting is that they considered it, but ultimately it wasn't good enough. Now, that either means that the Heat weren't able to get the draft compensation. There was some reporting that maybe Miami was trying to shop around other parts to try to get a pick in 2026 or 2027 that they could include for Giannis. So either that didn't happen, or the Bucks determined that they're not super, like with Kuminga, that they're just not that interested in Khalil Ware, that they, maybe he's nice, but they don't view him as that blue chip prospect. So what do the Bucks expect to get? I think they're holding out for a top pick or a blue chip prospect. They made some minor moves here at the deadline. We'll see what happens for the rest of the season. There's already conversations about, well, are they going to try to shut Giannis down? I think Giannis will play. I just think it's going to be really hard to hold that guy off the court. And after this whole rah, I'm not fucking leaving thing, you're going to bench him down the stretch? No. Bucks fans are going to want to see Giannis. Like, good luck with that. Especially if there's still this concern that, hey, this might be the last season he's here. You're not shutting down Giannis. So that's not happening. And by the way, if you did shut down Giannis, that would be a big problem, I think, for the NBA. 3rd best player in the league getting shut down for the rest of the season, that's a problem. So I don't see that happening. So do the Bucks miss the play-in? What is this? What the playoffs? Perhaps they still can. Like, that's not a good team with or without Giannis, right? Like, they're not good enough. They could miss the playoffs. They could miss the play-in. Do they end up, moving up in the lottery? Something lucky happens there. Yeah, maybe. And then you go from there, right? Now, I don't think Giannis is particularly interested in playing with an 18, 19, 20-year-old, regardless of if it's Boozer or Peterson or anybody in this draft. As good as those players might be, I don't know that Giannis wants to play with a 19-year-old. You hear all these things that he's talking about in the media afterwards about, hey, I want mature players. I want players that know how to win. I miss Drew Holiday. I miss Chris Middleton, all this kind of stuff. I don't know that teaming up with a guy that just spent a few months in college is what Giannis is thinking about. And if you're the Bucks, do you then, if you miraculously move up in the lottery and end up getting one of these top 3 or 4 or 5 picks, are you really going to trade that for something? Like, what are you trading that for that's of enough value that it turns you into a championship contender, keeps Giannis in Milwaukee long term, and you're not regretting it 4 or 5, 6 years later in a real way? I don't know what trade that is, right? Like, here, like, hey, they could trade the lottery pick, and maybe if it's like 9, 10, 11, but we've seen this before. It's really hard to do that and not take the young player. Now, perhaps there's other things that they could do. Maybe they move Bobby Portis, Miles Turner in the summer. Maybe they try to redo the roster around him. Ultimately, I just think what happens here is that the Bucks say, hey, the offers that we got at the deadline aren't going to be materially worse in the summer. And we could potentially get a lot better offers in the summer. Do the Rockets or the Spurs try to get involved? They want a blue chip young prospect. The Rockets could offer an Alperen Şengün or maybe an Amen Thompson or a Jabari Smith Jr. or a combination of the Spurs. Would they ever offer like a Dylan Harper or something like that? I don't know. Doesn't sound like it right now, but things change. Oklahoma City, would they ever part with Jalen Williams or something like that? Would the Orlando Magic say, you know what, let's make Paolo Banchero available? Would the Cavaliers say, we got James Harden, we got Donovan Mitchell, maybe we move on from Evan Mobley and pair all those guys with Giannis. Bring LeBron back. Have the weirdest team ever. A lot of things can change. Maybe the Knicks get involved. A lot of things can change. So I understand where the Bucks are coming from. But I want to go back to Giannis here. Because Giannis had a lot of agency in all of this. First of all, we're not here if not for Giannis's actions, right? The Milwaukee Bucks never even wanted to take phone calls on Giannis. The only reason they were is because Giannis said and didn't say enough where they thought, oh, we could really lose this guy. So let's start making the phone calls. Let's start at least taking the phone calls and figuring out what the market looks like for this guy. And get as much intel and information as possible so that we can make the best decision we possibly can make, because you can only trade Giannis once this summer. If Giannis really wanted to get traded, he could have put his thumb on the scale and gotten traded today. But he didn't want to do that. And I'm okay with that, for the record. The weird victory lap afterwards, annoying. Not getting traded, okay with that. But this doesn't go away. And I do wonder, look, we know what the Milwaukee Bucks are looking for, a lottery ticket for your next superstar. I'm not really sure what Giannis is looking for at this point. He says he wants to win, but at the same time, he's talking about how he doesn't want to leave Milwaukee. And obviously, if you could, those two things wouldn't be mutually exclusive, but right now they are. And I don't see the moves on the board this summer that makes it anything other than what it is right now. I still think the writing is on the wall. And if I had to bet, I still think Giannis is playing for a different team at the beginning of next season. And I don't think he signs the extension in Milwaukee. But what I do see happening here is this dragging out in the summer. This is not going to be a thing that gets done on draft night. This is not going to be a thing that gets done first day of free agency. This is not. He can sign the extension in October. I think it happens in October. I think this drags out because Giannis has shown time and time again that he doesn't really feel ready to get traded, or maybe more accurately, doesn't really feel ready to demand the trade, to do the thing, to say it out loud. What we all know that he actually probably wants deep down, he's too afraid to say it out loud because he's very concerned about his reputation. And he's talked about it, that how much the city of Milwaukee means to him, and it's on his passports and his kids' passports, and his dad is buried there. And I am very sympathetic to that. I think everybody would agree if the Bucks could still field a championship caliber roster, who wouldn't want to see Giannis end his career in Milwaukee? Everybody would want to see that. But the only reason we're talking about this is because you're talking about it, Giannis. Nobody is trying to get you to leave. The only reason we're talking about it is because you're talking about it. But what we can't figure out is what you actually want. Is it really deep down what you want to do is stay in Milwaukee, even if it costs you winning? You already won one championship. You're a Hall of Famer if you retire today. You could just ride it out in Milwaukee. But then you have, after these losses, these frustrating post-game comments. You are clearly frustrated. And I think there are times when Giannis, after these games, says, I'll do anything to get out of here. And I think there are times in between where he says, I love it here. I never want to leave. And I sympathize. I get it. It's hard. It's hard trying to make this decision, uproot your life, make this change is hard. And he's brought up the Kevin Durant thing, right? Or maybe he hasn't, but it was reported by Mark Stein that Giannis is looking at what Kevin Durant did when he went to the Warriors, for instance, and said, hey, when Kevin Durant teamed up with the 73-win Warriors, with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, he never got the credit that Kevin Durant thought he deserved. And so you look at this social media post from Giannis to say, Legends don't chase, they attract. You don't think that that's what he's thinking about? But here's the thing I think Giannis is really afraid of. It's not getting credit. I think it's what happened after Kevin Durant left Golden State to Brooklyn, to Phoenix, now in Houston. Kevin Durant is the greatest player in NBA history without a home. Who builds a statue for Kevin Durant? Who's retiring Kevin Durant's jersey? I think it's a fair question. You can make the argument that all of them should. You can make the argument that none of his teams should. Because he wasn't there long. He won 2 championships in Golden State. He wasn't there long enough. He never won anything in Oklahoma City, other than just his own MVP awards. Brooklyn, Houston, Phoenix. He accomplished nothing in these places so far. So Giannis, I think, is afraid of that. Leaving your market, your home, your city, the arena that you built. Afraid of leaving that and turning into the superstar nomad. And I get it. Nobody wants that. And so as much as this is a big deal for the Milwaukee Bucks to get this right, if and when they do trade Giannis, it's also really important for Giannis to get this right. Because his next team needs to be his forever team. But I'll tell you which way you could do this wrong is keep doing it this way. Keep talking about all this stuff publicly. Let this drag out all summer long. That's what you don't want to do. Because as much as Bucks fans love you now, they'll turn on you. We saw this with Dwight Howard. People do not like flip-floppers. Like, this is what happened to Dwight during the Dwightmare. I want to play for Orlando. I want to play for Orlando forever. I want to leave. I want to play. I want to leave. Then he signs the extension on the plane or the bus or something after a win. And then he ends up demanding the trade anyway. When you do this, you risk offending your own fans. You risk your own fans turning on you. Because nobody likes a flip-flopper and nobody likes to be dragged along here. So this summer, Giannis has to make a decision. Stay or go. And then really commit to it. Because if he doesn't do that, then that's how, for Giannis, the worst case scenario happens.